In the heart of a quiet town, hidden deep within the woods, a chilling mystery has lingered for nearly 2 decades. Each year, on the same cold night, an ancient ritual takes place. Two detectives spent 17 years trying to uncover the truth. The town of Heavenwood sits nestled in a valley, surrounded by a dense, sprawling forest that seems to swallow the sunlight. To outsiders, it's a picturesque escape, a place where time moves a little slower. But for the people who live there, the tranquility is a mask, hiding a secret that bleeds into their lives once a year. They know that when the autumn air turns sharp and the leaves fall, something in the woods begins to stir. It is a presence that has haunted Heavenwood for as long as anyone can remember. A silent dread that culminates in a single, terrifying night. It began with a single report, strange chanting echoing from the forest. On the cold, moonless night of October 28th, 1999, a frantic call came into the local sheriff's department. A resident living on the edge of the woods reported hearing what sounded like a chorus of disembodied voices, a low, rhythmic chant that seemed to rise and fall with the wind. The dispatcher, used to late-night calls about wildlife, almost dismissed it. But something in the caller's voice, raw primal fear compelled him to send a patrol car. The two officers who responded were Detectives Miles Corbin and David Halle, partners known for their steady resolve. They expected to find teenagers with a bonfire, perhaps a prank gone too far. What they discovered instead would become the foundation of an obsession that would consume the next 17 years of their lives. When they arrived, they found candles arranged in perfect circles, carved symbols in the trees, and an eerie silence that seemed to watch them back. The patrol car's headlights cut through the oppressive darkness, revealing a clearing deep within the forest. There, arranged with geometric precision, were dozens of black candles, their flames flickering in unison despite the still air. Intricate, unfamiliar symbols were freshly carved into the bark of the ancient oaks that ringed the clearing, glowing faintly as if imbued with a strange energy. The air was thick with the smell of burnt herbs and cold earth. But the most unsettling part was the silence. The chanting had stopped the moment their car approached, replaced by a profound quiet that felt heavy and expectant. There were no footprints leading away from the scene, no discarded items, no clue as to who had been there moments before. It was as if the participants had simply vanished into thin air. Corbin later recounted the feeling. It wasn't empty. It was waiting, like we had just interrupted something sacred, and it wasn't pleased. The detectives followed every lead but ended up with nothing but more questions. In the weeks that followed, Corbin and Halle launched a full-scale investigation. They canvassed the small community, knocking on every door, but were met with a wall of guarded silence and nervous glances. The symbols found in the woods matched no known language or occult iconography in any database. They were unique to Heavenwood. The detectives interviewed the initial caller, a man named Thomas Miller, who was visibly shaken. It wasn't human singing, he insisted, his voice trembling. It was older, like the sound of the earth itself humming a terrible song. but Miller's testimony provided no tangible leads. No one else admitted to hearing the chants, and no one had seen anything unusual. It was as if the town had collectively agreed to pretend the night never happened. Every path the detectives took led to a dead end, every clue dissolving into rumor and folklore. The ritual returned every year, leaving no suspects, no traces, only fear. Exactly 1 year later, on October 28th, the chanting returned. This time, Corbin and Hale were prepared. They had set up discreet surveillance points around the clearing, hoping to catch the perpetrators in the act. But just as before, a strange, thick fog rolled in minutes before the chanting began, rendering their cameras useless. When they moved in, they found the same scene: concentric circles of freshly lit candles, the same symbols carved anew over the old ones, and the same deafening silence. It was a perfect, taunting replication. This became the pattern. Every year, on the same date, at the same time, the ritual would unfold. And every year, the detectives' efforts to witness it were thwarted by inexplicable phenomena: sudden equipment failures, impassable fog, or disorienting sounds that led them astray in the woods. The townspeople began to mark their calendars, not with anticipation, but with dread. The night of the ritual became a self-imposed curfew, where doors were locked, windows were shuttered, and the residents of Havenwood prayed for dawn. Locals whispered about a forgotten cult or something far older, tied to the land itself. As the years passed, without answers, local legends began to intertwine with the facts of the case. Some believed a secretive cult, descendants of the town's original settlers, was responsible. They spoke of a pact made with an ancient entity to ensure the town's prosperity, a pact that required an annual tribute. An elderly woman, whose family had lived in Havenwood for generations, told the detectives, "This land was old long before this town was built. It remembers things we've tried to forget. You're not chasing people, detective. You're chasing a memory." Others offered even stranger explanations. Witnesses spoke of hooded figures, glowing lights, and voices carried by the wind. One teenager, who dared to venture near the woods on the fateful night, claimed to have seen figures moving among the trees. "They weren't walking," she said, her eyes wide with terror. "They were gliding like smoke. And their faces, there were no faces." These accounts were dismissed as hysteria, but they added to the growing mythos surrounding the forest. Was it human? Or something supernatural? The case consumed the detectives' lives, turning from a professional duty into a personal crusade. For 17 years, Corbin and Hale dedicated themselves to solving the mystery of the Havenwood ritual. Anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays were all secondary to the singular obsession of October 28th. Their office walls became a mosaic of maps, timelines, and photographs of the arcane symbols. They filled countless notebooks with theories, dead-end leads, and the names of people who had vanished. That was perhaps the most disturbing twist. Over the years, several individuals who showed too much interest in the ritual, or who claimed to have information, disappeared without a trace. There was the amateur historian who was researching local folklore, the journalist who came to write and expose, and even Thomas Miller, the man who made the first call. Each of them vanished in the weeks leading up to the annual event, their disappearances officially labeled as unrelated missing person cases. But Corbin and Halle knew better. They were being warned. The detectives' final attempt to stop the ritual was their most desperate. In their 17th year on the case, with retirement looming, they decided to confront whatever was in the woods head-on. They didn't set up cameras or surveillance. They simply walked into the clearing on that cold October night and waited. The chanting began around them, louder and closer than ever before. A freezing wind tore through the clearing, extinguishing their flashlights. They were plunged into absolute darkness, with only the sound of the inhuman chorus and the feeling of unseen figures brushing past them. What happened next? Neither man would ever fully speak of. Halle retired a week later, moving out of state and refusing all contact. Corbin remained, a haunted man who would only say, "We saw who wore what performs the ritual. And it is not something that can be stopped." To this day, no one knows who wore what performs the ritual. The official case file remains open, gathering dust in the Havenwood Sheriff's Department, a testament to 17 years of unanswered questions. Is it a highly organized cult, so secretive that it has evaded detection for nearly 2 decades? Is the land itself cursed, reenacting a centuries-old tragedy? Or is it something else entirely? An entity from beyond our understanding whose motives are unknowable? The official reports document a series of unsolved trespassing and vandalism incidents, but the local legends tell a darker story, one of a town bound by a terrible secret and a forest that demands its due. But the chanting still echoes through the forest each year, and the town holds its breath, waiting for the night to come again. The circles of candles continue to appear. The symbols are always freshly carved, and as the darkness of another October 28th approaches, the residents of Havenwood ask themselves the same chilling question. Will it happen again this year?